So adaptive learning has been gaining a lot of attention recently. It's really a personalized system where each learner is going to achieve the same goals, but they might not have the same experience getting to those goals. I noticed that many textbook companies started to put adaptive pieces into their online homework systems. And while I really liked the idea of that, I wanted a little bit more control over the content and the questions that were being offered. So that's why I decided to design my own adaptive course. One of the reasons to use adaptive technology is to really appeal to our audience. Our audience is made up of students who have mostly been using the internet for their entire lives, being offered lots of choices on websites that are completely interactive with those choices. Traditional classrooms or traditional online classrooms don't have that level of interactivity, that active learning that we're looking for, that adaptive technologies can give us. So meeting the needs of the audience would be the first reason. Another reason, as an instructor, I value practice so much. The only way to learn a new skill, like chemistry, is to practice that skill. But oftentimes, students will skip over the practice unless it's worth points. But even if it's worth points, they're only doing the practice to achieve those points. They're not doing the practice to understand the material. The benefit of the adaptive system is that they're constantly being asked questions over and over again, different questions, not to achieve the correct answer, but to achieve mastery of the skill. The design of the Realize It adaptive platform makes it very, very easy for an instructor to add content and to add relationships between the content, creating these very large maps, concept maps of their classes, and setting prerequisite lessons so that when a student is going to need remediation, the system can point them to the correct remediation. It's graphical interface, very drag and drop, simple to understand. You do not need to learn any coding languages, which was important for me because I do not know any coding languages. I also had a great time working with their quality assurance team. Every time I had to input any documents or questions, there was a team of people going over my work, verifying it for language, verifying it for typos, making sure that I was presenting the best possible class to my students. They didn't try to tell me anything about my content because they were not chemists, but they did help me with my course design, and I really appreciate it. So as a student, the first thing that I am going to see is a learning map. And that map is going to show me the interconnectedness of all of the topics or lessons that I'm supposed to learn. Sometimes they will be very linear in nature, and sometimes they will be branching pathways where I can learn subjects in a different order depending on my preferences. Then once I decide which lesson to do, and the system will always tell me which lesson it thinks I should do, but once I decide which lesson to work on, I'll be presented with learning objectives, and I'll be given access to instructional materials. It is my choice as a student which instructional materials I want to use. Maybe it's a textbook, maybe a video giving me a human speaking to me over words. Maybe it's just the transcript of those videos. But whatever I choose, I'm going to be given the same material. That's the idea. Then after I access the instructional material, I'm going to be asked some questions to sort of judge how well I understand it, how well I am achieving the learning objectives. And if I reach a threshold grade on those questions, I'll be allowed to proceed to the next lesson. But if I don't reach that threshold grade, I'm going to be asked to go back to the instructional materials and review them one more time. Be asked questions again and see if I can reach the threshold this time. If I fail to reach the threshold a couple of times, the adaptive system will direct me to a prerequisite lesson, something before that I need to remediate, so I can build a strong base to build upon in learning these new materials. Now, if I would like to improve my score, I can always go back and get a better grade on any lesson.